Hello Leo, and welcome to your year 2022 forecast. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. Now I'm going to outline the major strands that are going to dominate this year. This is going to give you a fantastic opportunity, I hope, to seize the possibilities for progress, but also steer clear of some of the pitfalls too. Now, of course, part of this will be the Eclipse series, which does change this year, moving with 2 in your sector of success and 2 in the part of your horoscope that's very much to do with your home and family. But also, there are some big players staying in the same situation as last year. Pluto, the planet of transformation, since 2008 in the most practical part of your situation. Saturn, the planet of structure in your sector of relating. Neptune, the planet of dreams, and initially Jupiter in your sector of joint resources. And Uranus, the planet of restlessness, right at the top of your scope in your 10th house, very much to do with your worldly interaction. But there are going to be some big changes this year, not least the North Node on the 19th of January. This is almost like our collective consciousness. This is moving for you into your 10th house to join up with Uranus and those 2 eclipses that are set to emerge. So I think what you do for a living is going to be a big part of this year's story. But also, we need to look at the Mercury retrogrades. There are 4 this year, and Jupiter is going to be moving on the 10th of May into the sign of Aries. It will go back into the sign of Pisces later in the year, but moving into your sister fire triplicity is really going to give you an opportunity to expand and be more adventurous in that part of the year. So that's really exciting. Now, also, the new moon in your sign, which is on the 28th of July, is particularly influential this year. So I can't wait to share the information about that. And we also need to look at what the solar return is for the year. So that's the background energy which will permeate through the whole year. There's also an influential and extended transit of Mars in your sector of future events, teamwork and friendships. That's also very interesting from the 20th of August. But before I go further, I would be grateful if you would subscribe to my channel. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. Also, if you'd like to get your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, I've been writing these for about 27 years now. and write for lots of publications throughout the world and Britain's most read daily newspaper, the Metro. But please see the link beneath this video and you can get that free each morning. Also, if you would like to ascend above this Zodiac forecast and embrace your personal astrology for year 2022, you can order your forecast based on your time, date and place of birth, and also get a character analysis and get 30% off. And if you order it in year 2021, I'll give you the rest of that year free in terms of the forecast. If you order in 22, you get 12 months from that time of order. Now, as we go into this new year, one of the things I want to do is just take you back to the 4th of December 2021, because there was an eclipse in the sign of Sagittarius, which shares your sister fire triplicity. And that's actually going to take you into the early parts of this year. And it's very buoyant for you, because not only is the sun and the moon combining in Sagittarius, which is a flexive, mutable sign, Mercury, the planet of communication, is very close to them. That means that your creative thinking and your sense of humour, which Mercury loves in the 5th house, as it is here, are really going to be lifted as you make your way into this new year. But there's no doubt about it, as you do enter 2022, there are lots of practicalities to grapple with. And on screen here is your personal solar return. And you can see, as always, the sun is in the sign of Capricorn. For you, this is the 6th house, which is very Virgoan. So each year when you set your New Year's resolutions, it wouldn't be a surprise if somewhere along the way, getting a bit fitter, even if we all find it a bit difficult to keep to our pledges as time goes on. But each year, the Sun in Capricorn probably gives you a little bit of a flavour of that. But you can see on the screen that Venus is alongside Pluto. And going back to that solar eclipse in Sagittarius, Venus was alongside Pluto then as well. In fact, for the whole of December, they were very close together. And this is because Venus went into a retrograde on the 19th of December. So when we get to the new year, because of that retrograde, once more, they've come right back together in a conjunction. Also, you can see Mercury is there alongside them too. So a big gathering, a stellium of energy in your sector of practicality. So this is about details. It can be about where we provide services to others, not being servile, but actually doing things that help others. So if you're in a service-led role, I think this solar return is really positive for you for the year ahead. But Venus isn't just about relationships, it's also about money, and it can also be about stylishness. So if you want to do a job that earns you money, that helps others, but is more fulfilling in a creative context, that really wouldn't be a surprise, particularly with Uranus continued to shake up your world of work and making you, I think, potentially quite restless. Now that combination is also augmented by the square between Saturn and Uranus. You can see Saturn still in Aquarius, as I said, that's going to continue. But at the turn of the year, within 3 degrees, squaring with Uranus in your sector of work. So I think work relationships or your work environment or lack of job or the strains of COVID may have been the biggest impact on you last year. And there is the potential for that to continue this year. I can only be honest, but I don't think it's going to be as potent, because if we think about this solar return, how does it work? Well, imagine going to an art class and the tutor asking you on your canvas to put a background colour on. Take your charcoal, outline the figure that you want to paint or draw in greater detail. That part of the picture is going to be within its being until it's finished. So as the events of the year unfold and we have other influential planetary aspects, they're going to impact on that background solar return, but that energy will persist throughout the year. So the Saturn square Uranus angle, which goes on pretty well to the end of January, it is still going to be there in the background this year, but it won't be anywhere near as forceful for you. So I think that's something to really be happy about. However, you can see the North Node is just in Gemini and Jupiter is just in Pisces. And both of these are mutable signs. So when it comes to friendships and money or being idealistic about your resources, this is just a cautionary note to stay very much grounded in your approach as this year unfolds. But also look at the position of the Moon. It's alongside Mars, and that can be quite a volatile mix, but it's a lively one. So if you're single, don't be surprised if that solar eclipse in Sagittarius and this solar return in Capricorn, but with the Moon and Mars close together in Sagittarius, means that you are attracted to someone you encounter through your work or in a very ordinary location over the next 12 months. So romance could flourish in the supermarket queue, the bus stop, and so on, as much as at your place of work or online if you're having some Zoom or Skype conversations with colleagues. But if we take the point of the Moon, which is how we receive and share emotional energy, and the Sun, your ruler, which is very much to do with our life force, the midpoint between the two of them, so the yin-yang for your year, is actually in Sagittarius at 28 degrees. So this is really a very helpful influence for you. So all through the year, the creativity, the warmth of your personality can radiate out, but I think it needs to be focused towards areas where you get tangible returns. You see the evidence of where you put your energy in shaping up in a physical way. So that's the story, the background story of this year. Now, of course, I mentioned before that I'd tell you about the Mercury retrogrades, and the first one is as soon as the 14th of January in your sector of relationships. So just because Saturn and Uranus are going to be weakening from the end of January, I would still be working very hard at keeping the lines of communication open with others. Some people, Leo, can see you as being a little aloof at times. It may not be something that you deliberately manifest. You might try very hard to be, very engaging with others, but just be conscious of that. Saturn, at the end of the day, asks us to work at things. So it's continuing this year to ask you to work at relationships. And that means also working at how other people might see us. But also, by the end of its retrograde, by the 3rd of February, Mercury has actually inverted into the sign of Capricorn. So despite all those opportunities to progress by being conscious of the details, something could still trip you up if you're not really eagle-eyed. Now, the second Mercury retrograde is on the 11th of May in your sector of friendship, but then it rewinds into your sector of work. And then on the 10th of September, in your sector of everyday communications, it rewinds into your sector of everyday money. So you can see all through the year, we start off with an air Mercury retrograde, and then they revert to Earth. So if you have ideas, they have to be converted to something more practical, and then you can embrace the ideas again once the Mercury retrograde and the shadow period unwinds and you move forwards once more. So just be aware of that need to back up your communications with a solid approach. So if something's discussed that's important to you, send someone an email to back it up. If you are talking about a contract, make sure it's checked over in a very diligent way so you can grapple with the detail of things in a very astute manner all year. So that is going to be important. Now, I told you before about the North Node. The North Node moves from Gemini on the 19th of January into Taurus, where it will be for a year and a half. For you, as I said before, this is your sector of potential success. The North Node can be quite lucky. It's where our cup can overflow. So over the last year and a half, it's been more towards your connections to others. And that could be your network connection or through social interactions. But of course, that's been blighted by COVID for us all. But I think if you really want to find yourself a new role this year, particularly professionally, then the North Node is going to be a great blessing to you. Now, Uranus is in this location as well. So Uranus is about change, truth, can be quite shocking, controversial. It's in its full in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is also a fixed sign, and Uranus is about change in some way or another. So I think the combination of the North Node and Uranus, but the lessening energy of Saturn squaring Uranus, suggests that you might think about changing your role in life, applying for a new job, starting afresh, perhaps your own business or enterprise. It's how you're connecting with the wider world that the North Node and also Uranus are going to be helping you with. But on the 30th of April, there's a solar eclipse in that area too. So the solar eclipse from late last year, which was giving you a buoyancy around your physical energy and your enthusiasm, well, that's now replaced by the energy of Taurus. Taurus energy is about foundations. It's about earth, so again, that tangibility. But it's also about reliability, but that's something you understand well, being a fixed sign too. But the combination of this solar eclipse is with Uranus. So that change that I was talking about is really quite likely to be something that you're grappling with quite keenly over the next half year. Also Mars, the planet of drive and of individual passion, that is in your 8th house of longer term finance. So I think if you've been in an organisation, a job, or you've had time out away from work and you want to get stuck in again, you're going to want to feel that it's fresh and exciting and relevant, but you also, I feel, want to feel that it's quite a democratic way of working. Because Uranus is very much like that. It likes flat management structures. It's not very hierarchical. So if you're someone who wants to feel recognised, which is a very Leonian trait, you want to feel respected, Uranus asks you to be a bit more outspoken, particularly with this solar eclipse. But on the 16th of May, we have a lunar eclipse in the opposite sign of Scorpio. So what you're being asked to toggle over the next 6 months is your work-life balance. There may be opportunities to surge ahead at work, but you need to stay mindful of how it feels, and also making sure that your support structures at home are robust enough to cope. Now, on the 10th of May, Jupiter, the planet of growth, of optimism, moves into your sister fire sign of Aries. Now, this is a very exciting place for Jupiter to be, because Jupiter governs the other fire sign of Sagittarius, and for you, the 9th house where Jupiter moves into is a very Sagittarian one. So if you have felt frustrated by being penned in by the limitations of COVID, I think over the next few months it's going to be quite joyous for you if you can break out. But you could be travelling with your work. I think that's entirely possible over this period of time. Now, on the 28th of July, you have your super new moon that I was telling you about before. Why is it so super? It's because it forges an exact trine with Jupiter, still in Aries, and that gives you a wonderful opportunity to really thrust forwards in the following month. Remember, the sun governs your sign, so it could be argued that the Leo new moon is the most influential new moon of the whole year. The second one, I would argue, would be the Cancerian new moon because of the moon's governorship of Cancer. But this is really full of fire. It's full of vibrancy and passion, and gives you a real opportunity to feel very, very outgoing and hopeful and really adventurous in the following months. So that's a wonderful thing to have there. Now, it is also true that on the 20th of August, Mars powers its way into your sector of friendship, and it's going to be there through to the end of the year. Mars in the 11th house is a good place for it in a way, because this is the sign of Gemini, which is great for sport if you're very much a physical sports player or a supporter of a team. I think the next months are going to be exciting too for you. Now, it is the case that Mars goes into a retrograde on the 30th of October. So just be aware that there could be some changes coming around about certain hopes and aspirations for the future. But Mars is about ourselves as individuals, but the 11th house enables us to collaborate with others, but not necessarily lose our identity. But it's not so self-centered as, say, the 10th house, where it has to be much more only about us. So your ability to link with others and work in that collaborative and cooperative way is definitely helped by this. Now, Jupiter, well, also on the 28th of July, later in the day, it does go retrograde. And through till the 28th of October, before it goes back into your 8th house. So just be aware that something that you may have wanted to expand earlier in the year may need revisiting around the financial aspects of it. Then on November the 22nd, Jupiter goes direct, but it won't be until the 21st of December that it starts to go forwards again. Now, later in the year, on the 25th of October, we have a beautiful solar eclipse for you, insofar as Venus is conjoining with that eclipse. So if you're thinking about changing where you live or improving your current residency, you may do it in the last part of this year. And then on the 8th of November, we're back into an eclipse in the sign of Taurus, very much to do with your work and worldly interactions. But because that's a lunar eclipse, your feelings around your job could be harder to disguise. I think you can be someone who does like to be dignified. You don't really like fuss to come out into the open. You feel it demeans you in some way, but there may be something that you do have to toggle around simply because of the more emotional energy of the solar eclipse in Scorpio is asking you to think about how things feel, not just about status, how much you earn, or whether a job is enjoyable. It's whether it feels right for you as well. So that's going to be very important. Now, the last 3 days of the year, we also have a Mercury retrograde in the sign of Capricorn. So those details that you started this journey grappling with, they come back into focus as the year comes to a close. In terms of the Capricorn new moon on the 23rd of December, it's remarkably similar to the solar return at the start of this year. So I think you'll probably be smiling sagely at the end of the year, thinking of the journey you've gone on in terms of grappling with those details, but doing so in a much more creative way. So I think this year could be described as form and function, getting the balance right between work and your family and emotional needs, and also being a bit more travel orientated with the help of Jupiter, but the chance to make progress around your professional aspirations is really very strong. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Leo. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful year, and goodbye for now.